Get the wiggles out. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to Sur La Table. I'm Meredith Abbott, and today we're going to be making a charred tomatillo salsa. This is a little bit different than your typical pico or red salsa. And in this, we're using tomatillos, jalapeno, cilantro, yellow or white onion, limes, and salt. A few ingredients. We're gonna char them in the oven to really develop their flavors, and then we're gonna puree them and serve. It's super easy, and it's a game changer. And our first step is to prepare our tomatillos and our onions. Tomatillos are these little guys. They come in a husk. Sometimes you can also find them without. They are a member of the gooseberry family, but often get used just like tomatoes. So just pull back that husk. It's gonna be a little sticky, but that's okay. Just like so. If you can't find fresh tomatillos, it is okay to substitute frozen or even canned for this recipe. They're a little tangier and more sour than tomatoes, which is also why we are roasting them, to take some of that tartness away and develop more of their flavor. So it's gonna balance really well with the heat of the jalapeno. So have any small ones, set them on your baking sheet. Any large ones I would go ahead and quarter. We just want them to kind of cook at the same rate. We're not cooking them all the way through. We're just gonna get some blistering on them. Just like so, set them on your rimmed baking sheet. Now we're going to quarter our onion. I have a yellow onion here. Again, more surface area means more blistering. Now we've got our cut produce. We just need to add a little oil to this, again, to help coax out that browning in our vegetables. We're gonna go ahead and season. We like to season as we go with recipes. So just a little pinch. If you need to measure things, about 1/8 of a teaspoon, maybe 1/4 teaspoon, especially if it's kosher salt. Give them a toss, like so. And I like to arrange them with the cut side up, like so. It doesn't take very long to do. Now these are ready to go into your broiler. Now, your broiler has been preheating this whole time. It should be nice and hot. Move that top rack to either the very top or the second to highest position in your oven, because we want these to be in close proximity to that heating. And we'll check them at about 5 minutes. I have my onions and my tomatillo blistering in the oven, so let's prep the rest of our ingredients. We're gonna start with a jalapeno. It can be a little scary. You never know if you're gonna get a hot one or a mild one. So I just like to default to seeding it, and I'll show you how to do that. So first we're just gonna cut off the stem, again, carefully, keeping those fingertips out of the way. And you'll see then you can see kind of the inner membranes. I'm gonna slice it in half lengthwise. So you can really see it. All the heat lives in these ribs and in the seeds, so we wanna remove those. So carefully with the tip of your knife, poke it in towards the end and just run it around. And then once you get to the edge, you can scoop it like that, and then you can use your finger to kind of pull it out. Just going to cut it again into kind of loose quarters. Gather these strips up into bundles, and then 1/2-inch slices. Nothing too crazy, we're just giving it a head start to go into our blender. Gather and drop in 2 tablespoons of lime juice into the blender. Got a little bit more that I'll squeeze in once we're tasting it later. And now we need to chop some cilantro. We need roughly a cup, so about 1/2 of a large bunch. The stems are edible, so it's okay if they go in, especially since we're putting this into the food processor. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can absolutely use a blender. So about a cup, I'm looking for about a mound of like a softball size. We're just going to roughly chop these. So pick through. Again, this is a great job for a helper in your kitchen. I also just happen to love doing prep work. I find it kind of meditative, so I like prepping things. Gonna gather them up with my fingertips. Tuck those fingertips under. Always stick your knuckles out. And we're just going to run this knife through to get it started. And then this is called a rocking cut. We're just going to give these a head start, like so. And because they do make a little bit more of a mess, I always save my herb chopping for the last step on my cutting board. Bench scraper, grab it. Whoop. Okay, let's grab our charred tomatillos and onions out of the oven. Perfect, and we're looking for some black pieces. This really is going to enhance the flavors. We're going to scrape, and when I say scrape, I want you to get all of those yummy bits from the bottom of your baking sheet, like so. Nice, all that liquid too. That's all really yummy flavor. Okay, now everything is in our food processor. And again, you could use a blender if you don't have a food processor. We just want to use the pulsing function. Set it, each one is different, and then lock it in place. If you are using a blender, you really want to make sure that you crack it and let some steam come out. We're going to turn this on, and we're going to pulse it a few times. Want to start breaking things down. You'll see that steam is coming out. This is also why we vent it as well. Let's go ahead and take the lid off. We're gonna scrape the sides, because as you see, sometimes the cilantro likes to creep up the side of the bowl, and we want it to all be mixed. Texture is pretty chunky at this point, which is good, but this is a great opportunity for us to taste. So give it a little blow. I mean, this is delicious, but I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more lime. I want some brightness to this. So take some lime, go ahead and squeeze a little bit more in. Again, this is your taste. I like mine to be pretty limey. So just gonna squeeze a little bit more in, and then I'm gonna add about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Both the acid from the lime and the salt will enhance your flavors. So now we're gonna lock this again, pulse it a few more times. Off. Let's taste it one more time, see if we're happy. That little bit of salt really just made all of the flavors come together. There we go. Okay, and this is the texture that we're looking for. So still a little thick. You want some texture in there, but again, to your own desire, blend it as far as you would like. But this is how I like it. For recipe videos, cooking classes, and more, visit surlatab.com.